Alright, now what I'm going to do, we have it roughly where I need it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start chopping it out. Okay? And right here you want to be careful where the nose is. We're going to start draping that. We're going to just start rounding up the top here. And take a little bit off the sides. If you hear the humming in the background, it's the air conditioner. It's a pretty hot day here today. It got up about 94 today. 92, somewhere around there. When it goes over 90, it's too hot no matter what temperature it is, but the humidity seems to be dropping a little bit here. Now we're going to sweep some of this out. This is the back side, okay? So, alright, now up here we're just going to kind of make sure that this is all round. Now if you want, you can put a center line going across to give you a better idea, like going from corner to corner and put an X across. It'll give you more of a reference point, but I don't bother with that at this point. But if you're new, and you really want to make sure that your reference points are important to have, but it's really important when you do these that you get the block square on the bottom, square on the top, because if it's not, it's going to look funny, because one side's going to look a little different or it's going to look a little off. So okay, so that's what we have so far. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the nose here. I'm just going to put a little stop cut right there, and I'm going to undercut. Now you don't want to cut too far down, because the nose is really going to be prominently sticking out from underneath there. So you just want to give it everything like a reference cut. We're going to follow this line. We're going to do this at an angle. Alright, we're just going to chop this out a little bit. You don't want to chop from here up, just a little bit of a notch under each. Okay, each corner, because we do a lot of stuff from the corner. Alright, same thing here. We're just going to follow the line. We're going straight in, as you can see, and we're just going to undercut. Alright, now what you want to do to connect those, you're going to take your knife, and if you want to lay it on a table, it might be a little safer for you. I'm finding that anything that is rounded is dangerous for me. For some reason, those branch Santas, one time I really nailed myself, just because it was rounded and rolled off, the knife. So it's safe that if you can lean it on a table, that works pretty good. And I've been doing more of that just to be a little more safer with carving. You don't always have to do that, but if you happen to slip off, you're not going to have your hand underneath it. Okay, so I'm just following all my lines and putting a stop cut in pretty deep, and I'm just going to undercut towards the hat, just like so. Whoops. Now, the bigger the piece, of course, the longer your blade will have to be to reach those areas, but this is a little bigger than I normally have, but I thought I might as well do it a little bit bigger this time around. And what I'm doing is I'm taking the tip of the blade, the very tip. Now, when you do this, when you follow this line up, the one thing you don't want to do is be sticking this blade up into the hat. You're going to go as closely to that line as possible. Otherwise, you're going to have all these little ridges here that might fray if you do it too many times. It won't look right. Okay, so just be mindful of that. You just want to make sure that you take your time with it and all. Alright? So what we're going to do is we're going to keep trimming out the hat. Whoops. And I keep shaping. You notice I move from one area to the next. I do that a lot. Now right here, well, I'm sorry, we've got to do the front here yet. Let's do that. Okay, there we go. Now I'll be teaching this class possibly in the fall, or when I teach it, whenever you listen to this tape. If you want to take a class on how to do this, or would be interested in doing so. I will be probably teaching this, and what I have been thinking of doing is when you take a class, you'll automatically get the DVD to go with it. Okay, DVD version of this along with the class. So if we don't finish something in class, you can take it home and finish it up at home. Now notice how I'm starting to round the top of the hat out a little bit and going a little bit deeper underneath. And that's what we want. Okay, and we're just going to keep working our way around. Let me see if this other knife will work. I change knives a lot of times. Depends what I'm working on and which one is the sharpest. People say, well, what's your favorite knife? I said, whatever is the sharpest and whatever will work for that particular one. But I do love my Rough Riders, and I do love the ones I got from Tom. They've worked really well. He makes a nice, decent knife, not a fair price. I think he charges $25 for a knife, which for a handmade knife, it's a real good deal. It's not out of the ordinary. I've paid as much as $40 for a handmade knife, and I ended up not using it anyway. So, but you know, it all depends. It all depends what you're using, what you're cutting. All right, let's see here. So see how we're shaping it up. It's slowly coming. All right. So what we want to do, I want to start trimming the top part of the hat, the edge off. Notice how easy it is to cut because it's still damp and wet. And at the top of the hat is where you're going to look for checks, especially if you use that solution. But it all depends on the wood a lot of times. I think it depends how it's been dried and how long it's been, if it's really dry or not to start with. But really not overdoing it when you dip these things, okay? It will be damp for a while, especially on the ends where it soaks it up the most. Now this piece of wood had a little knot in it. Hopefully that won't show up somewhere later. It might be deep enough, but I'm not going to worry about it because we're going to paint it anyway, so I'm not too concerned about it. There's ways of working around stuff like that. Okay, now that looks way too fat. Of course, it's going to go in a lot deeper, so we're going to keep going. And what I do is I just go around and come up the top. Do a couple of cuts, come down, and try to go all the way around to keep it even. Now remember, I don't do any sanding on these. The knife is kind of the last thing I do, is go around it a little bit and clean it up.